right, welcome to the 100% Wild Podcast. I'm Mark Kenyon of Wired to Hunt, and with me today in person, this is kind of cool,
That's
Matt
right.
Drury from Drury Outdoors. How are you?
I'm good. We've been talking about this for a while, and Mark, graciously enough, decided, you know what, I'm going to volunteer to drive your way. What was it, 7.5 hours?
7.5 hours, yeah.
So it's pretty cool that we get to finally get to do these in person in studio, and it's been a long time coming. So I appreciate you driving out.
It wasn't too bad. I actually got to catch up on some podcasts of my own to listen to on the way out here. So now I'm excited to be here. And
Did you like what you heard?
yeah, heard some good stuff. I didn't listen to ours, though. I never listened to that. But who are we with here today, man?
Yeah, so we have the champ. We have Steve Stoltz. He is a 3-time world champion turkey caller and 1-time Grand National turkey champion caller. And he was one of the original Drury Outdoors team members, and really probably doesn't need an introduction for our fans that have been with us since the beginning. But for all those new young whippersnappers, why don't you give us a little introduction, Stevie?
In the 80s, turkey calling and in the 90s was really kind of a platform for the outdoor industry folks to, for everybody to gather at shows, at conventions. You'd have the turkey calling championships. So your top turkey callers, which your Uncle Mark did this as well, we just practiced and got together, and that's how I met your Uncle Mark. Actually was at the Missouri State Turkey Calling Championship. In the mid-'80s, it was at Excelsior Springs. I don't exactly remember which Missouri State, but mid-'80s. I remember hearing your Uncle Mark call in this turkey calling championship, and I just was so impressed with his. Now his head's going to get big, but
I don't know that it could get bigger.
Okay. I was so impressed with his turkey calling skills. I met him in a hallway, and he can tell you this is exactly how it happened, how I met him. He was coming one direction, I was going the other. Didn't know him from Adam, other than he kind of looked like a young, long-haired hippie. And and I said, I don't know who you are. I stopped, and I stuck my hand out and shook his hand. I said, I don't know what your name is or who you are, but if you keep calling like you called, you're going to do well. He didn't make the finals. He didn't make the final top 8.
Yeah.
And I think Walter Parrott won. I was
Shocking.
second. Yeah, at that time, shocking. But he invited me. He went home, told his parents, Ralph and Lucille, and of course, bless Ralph's heart. We just had his funeral yesterday.
Yeah, thank you.
Many tears, and a lot of people don't realize the contributions your grandfather gave to the outdoor industry, even though he wasn't a huge hunter himself. But not only raising you guys, but just his contributions. I remember your mom or your grandmother and your grandfather at every turkey calling championship that Mark would call in. And even when Mark quit calling, they would still go to those Grand Nationals and support the turkey calling and turkey federation.
Yeah, that's right. Grandpa and Grandma, they just loved listening to it, being a part of it. They always got a kick out of it. They always watched the shows, the videos, the VHS tapes. I mean, they were very proud of what Mark did on the turkey calling circuit and what Mark and Terry did together for Drury Outdoors.
Absolutely.
It was very special.
So to make a very long story short, probably long still, he invited me down to your grandma and grandpa's house, and Lucille made me chicken and rice. And when a fat boy eats, you can't get rid of him. So, and then that's the rest is history. I started going down, and we started building calls and tweaking calls, taking our little scissors and cutting and practicing. He would critique my calling, I would critique his calling, and quickly your uncle elevated to a champion caller himself, placing in the top 5 in the Grand Nationals in 1989, and then the rest is history, and went on to win the World Turkey Calling Championship, went on to win World Voice Turkey Calling Championships. Just he's so intelligent, and from the Drury Outdoor films, he shoots these giant bucks, and those aren't shot by accident.
No.
Those are shot because Mark's a very intelligent individual.
Yeah.
And he has the resources to manage his whitetails.
He does.
And so forth. But make no mistake, the man quickly rose to the top of turkey calling, very quick. I know he steadily kicked my butt, and here I was helping him, and now all of a sudden he's kicking my butt. So fun times. So in 1989, Terry and Mark asked me to go on their first Drury Outdoor film trip. and that was to North Arkansas with Pat Jackson. And I actually...
The Ozark Mountains, right?
The Ozark Mountains. You all know Jeff Probst from the Drury Outdoor Series. Jeff was originally going to go on that trip and had to cancel. So I was the fill-in.
Wow.
And I don't know if Mark and Terry remember that, but it was going to be Jeff, Mark, and Terry on the original Drury Outdoor trip. They bought a camera. They wanted to start producing hunting films, and they felt that we could do as good a job as anything out there. And one of the things that impressed Mark the most was Will Primos's Truth About Turkey Hunting.
Yeah.
And which, shows what an inspiration the truth was, and it inspired us to do better, to try and put out a turkey film, or that we could do just as well anyway.
He always talked about Denny Golvis and those videos that Denny always had out, and that it was always about the sounds that a turkey makes, and he had the best at that time. It was always the best as far as hearing what a turkey's like in the live, as far as the different sounds and vocalizations they can make. He always talked about how that influenced him so much, but he went back to Dad and he said, we can do this, but let's kill the turkeys.
Let's just not call them in. Let's kill them. Yeah. And so I was invited on that first trip. First met your dad, Terry. I don't know if you were even born yet. Well 1989.
Yeah. So
okay.
I was 81. So
okay. So you were just a little boy.
8, 9.
So we traveled down and actually shot the first film kill ever in Drury Outdoor history. And I think when Mark shot it, Terry jerked. And
she still does. We call him auto out of focus.
I can't say I do any better, but I'll tell you, it was a wonderful trip. We had so much fun. I actually killed it. There was 3 of us, only 1 camera. I hadn't bought a camera yet for Drury Outdoors, so I hadn't even bought into the Drury Outdoor thing yet. I don't
know that it was really anything at that point, right? It was the very early stages.
It was the early stage, and it was us wanting to create some hunts on film, put together on a video, and try to sell it.
Yeah.
And to pay for our habits, to pay for our hotel bills, to pay for our tags. We had no idea in the 80s, in the late 80s and early 90s, that it would evolve into a wide range rental market with videos, and then eventually, of course, the television market where the videos faded away.
And now online.
Now online,
amazing.
digital media, all that.
It's amazing.
So we had no clue what we were diving into. We just wanted to pay for our habit, pay for our gas, pay for our tags and our hotel. And in that particular hunt in Arkansas, we actually camped out with Pat Jackson. And your dad will tell you it was the most fun that we've ever had, probably on a Drury Outdoor trip.
Well, they talk about it a lot, that in the early days, it's the most fun they ever had, in general with the company. And now it's become, we have so many employees, and I mean, it's an operation at this point, so we got to, it's kind of a grind.
Well, it's an operation in a business.
I
mean, it's a job.
Yeah, and when you have other people's livelihoods that you need to worry about, you got to make sure, you continue down that path. But at the beginning, it was all about having fun.
Right.
It was a lot of fun because it was something new and fresh, and I just, to hear those stories and to think back of what all it's evolved into from then to now, it's really amazing, honestly. Like, to see, we're sitting here doing a video podcast, and, in the early stages, they were staying in campers, and people, I think, that are new to the industry or new to hunting, maybe some of our viewers and listeners to this podcast, they don't realize where our roots start, and those days it was, it was a lot different than it is now. I mean, we didn't have the property, that we do now collectively, and they were hunting 40 Acre Club in Bloomsdale. They were going to public land. I mean, that's where they cut their teeth on a lot of public land back in the day, right? I mean,
do you know that I had? I'm skipping over a little piece of the story, but I had a hardest time convincing your dad and your Uncle Mark to travel to where the turkeys were. And there were a lot of turkeys at one time, and they're back now in the St. Genevieve County area. But that's where they started, and they wouldn't leave that. They wouldn't leave your Uncle Marvin's place, and that's where they wanted to film. And I kept telling them, guys, you'll get 5 times more film if you
Yeah.
just go where the turkeys are. Well, when they finally branched out and went to North Missouri and to southern Iowa and different and Kansas,
Rathbun Lake and that one.
Rathbun Lake, yeah,
in Iowa, yeah.
Man, they were like kids in a candy store. They just didn't know how to act. They were like, what you were telling us is true. I mean, this is awesome. And then after that, I don't think they hardly ever went back to your Uncle Marv.
Yeah, I don't. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, Dad would take me over there. We would hunt over there, and we would hunt at a family friend's in St. John County, Billy Carl and his family. We would hunt those places. But, mostly it was always traveling after you guys started doing those first couple years of videos.
Sure.
We always went somewhere. Mark, heck, still, I mean, he's getting ready to start his turkey tour, and he'll go probably Oklahoma, Texas, Florida. I mean, he goes all over the place.
Absolutely.
He's ate up with it. He
Oh,
still
yeah.
is. After all these years, as much as he loves the big deer and all these giants that they're seeing and killing, he still loves and I think is more passionate about turkey hunting than anything.
I think so, and it's because it's so enjoyable. One thing, so I don't skip over, how I joined Drury Outdoors after going on that first trip is Mark and Terry talked me into purchasing my own camera, and that was kind of my basically buy into Drury Outdoors. Is if you purchase a camera, start producing film for us. Eventually, we'll create some kind of
we'll do something with it.
We'll do something with it. Maybe start paying your expenses and stuff like that. And that's how I got involved with Drury Outdoors.
And that set up our team structure from those early stages to this day. Any of the Drury Outdoors team members, they own their camera equipment. They're independent subcontractors for us, and we purchase their hunts at the end of the year. If we need them or whatever, and
based on quality.
Yeah,
or
based
whatever.
on quality, and we try to supply them obviously with the gear. But they still have quite an expense. I mean, the expensive parts, the land that they're hunting and the camera and the camera gear that they have. So that set our team structure from the early days.
Later on in my Drury Outdoors career, that's exactly what your Uncle Mark and your dad would have me do. Is I'd work with the new videographer teams, and what we try and typically do is send them on a hunt with me. A few times and just kind of get them acclimated to infield production, to what they need to get, before, during, and after a hunt. Because it's no different now. I mean, you have to tell a story. The difference is you have to tell a more complete story.
Yeah.
Before, you could just cut the camera on in the tree, show the hunt, show some cutaways. Does not that way anymore. It's evolved to people want to be with you from start to finish. People want to be with you in the archery shop when you sight in. People want to be with you when you put that new sight on your gun. People want to be with you when you on every aspect. And when I say people, they want to know, because that's the entire learning experience from start to finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the question goes beyond why was that deer all of a sudden the camera cuts on and now the big deer is walking by the tree. That's what we used to be able to get away with.
Well, because at the time most people weren't seeing a lot of big deer. You know what I mean? I mean, it was rare to know somebody in the late 80s, early 90s that was killing big deer consistently. And we, Jay Gregory and Don Kiske, I think that's what drew Mark and Terry to those guys, because they were killing these giants that we weren't even seeing at that time. Mark and Terry and you guys. And so in the mid 90s, I think is when it really started kind of switching for Drury Outdoors, and the amount of big deer that they started seeing. And there too is because they had to start traveling to see them.
Well, the fans of Drury Outdoors would be shocked to know that we did not know how to. My biggest whitetail I'd ever killed was a 2.5-year-old when we started Drury Outdoors, and I think Mark's and Terry's
same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Now your dad might have shot a few mature deer in St. John County.
Yeah, he killed a probably 125-inch deer down there. That was a giant, at the time.
But for the most part, we were not trophy whitetail hunters. Per se, or into whitetail management.
Yeah.
It was Jay and Don that actually. If a good word to way to put it, cut our teeth, or at least showed us how to cut our teeth on big whitetails.
Yeah.
They were the ones that said, hey, start hanging your stands for wind direction instead of right on sign.
Yeah.
Start not pressuring your spots too much. Kind of lay back and watch how the deer are moving, and then figure out where to put a stand rather than jump in and slap up a stand right on top of all the sign and wonder why the big deer aren't there, because basically you're running them out when you go in to hang a stand. So all those things we learned from Jay and Don, and it turned our whitetail hunting career completely around very quick.
It did.
I've mentioned how intelligent not only your dad is, but Mark is when it comes to hunting. You know, he's a mad scientist.
He is.
And when you tell him a little information, he's going to go with it. And it didn't take us long. Instead of diving down in these hollows, and we were hunting southern Iowa and northern Missouri. We were hunting where the big whitetails were already, and in Pike County, Illinois, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought in the early years we were getting all our big whitetails in Iowa. We were not. We were getting most of them in Pike County, Illinois.
At the time, Pike County wasn't on the map like it is.
No.
I mean, they're part of the reason why it became what it did. It was a Heartland Lodge. Heartland Lodge.
Jerry Harpo's Heartland
Stan
Lodge.
Potts was instrumental in a lot of that.
Stanley was with us for a few years, absolutely.
It's amazing what that evolved, and honestly, some might say it ruined Pike for a while there because it became so outfitter heavy, and then they really almost killed out a complete class of whitetail because they were running so many people through there.
I've often
collectively as a group.
I don't take this wrong for landowners in Pike County, Illinois, but I've often said that Drury Outdoors should have gotten at least maybe 50 cents an acre for sale price in Pike County, Illinois. Of the amount that it jumped up from when we started filming to what it went to, because land prices, I'm going to just say, might have started $400 an acre when we started filming, and now it's $3,000 or $4,000
at least. Yeah.
So we definitely had a part in that, but that was the birth, the start. And again, I want to reiterate that when we started Drury Outdoors, we just really wanted to pay for our passion.
Yeah,
that's all we wanted. Again, not knowing at all that it would turn into an industry and a business that it's turned into. My affiliation, of course, now with Nightingale Game Calls, Mossy Oak Camouflage,
always there.
Toxie.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have met Toxie if it wasn't for Mark, your Uncle Mark.
Yep.
The first time that Mark met Toxie was at the Natchez World Voice Turkey Calling Championship, and Toxie was looking for somebody in the Midwest to get Mossy Oak kind of known more in the Midwest and start, a better sales base. And he said to your Uncle Mark, give me a couple other names of people that would wear Mossy Oak. And I was in love with Mossy Oak from the start. A good friend of ours, Bob Dixon, was wearing it. I tied Bob Dixon and I tied in the 1986 Grand Nationals for 5th place. And I'm so proud of this because Bob beat me in that tie. And that was Bob's only top 5 finish in the Grand Nationals. And Bob came up to me afterwards and talked about how good we both called and just how gracious of a man he was. And he was wearing Mossy Oak.
Yeah.
And it was the first year they started wearing it. And I looked at him and I grabbed that Mossy Oak on his, and I said, that's the kind of camouflage that I need to wear. And you know what he said? Just stick around. You watch where this goes. He goes, we'll get you some. Well, I never thought of anything of it. And then Toxie met Mark in 1987 or 88.
Yeah, 87.
87. And Mark said to me, he said, Toxie's looking for people. And I said, did you give him my name? He goes, no. He goes, you're with Nightingale. And at the time, Nightingale was with Realtree.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't you tell him my name? I'd wear my.
Yeah.
Nightingale's just giving me a few pieces of Realtree, and Realtree's a great camouflage too. But I just loved Mossy Oak.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I'll pass the word on. And then the next time that came about, I hunted with Preston Pittman and Tommy Bourne in Prentice, Mississippi, where I'm getting ready to leave Thursday. And same thing. The camouflage pattern worked so well. Tommy Bourne was a big man. And I was sitting next to Tommy. Turkey was coming in. And I was wearing Realtree. He was wearing Mossy Oak. It's a true story. And Turkey's going from our right to our left. And Tommy's on my left. And so now Tommy's getting to where he could kill it. But he wanted me to kill it. But he's going, Stevie, shoot that turkey. Stevie, shoot that turkey. Well, I'm waiting for the turkey to get completely clear in the wide open, not a piece of brush between me and the turkey. It's 25 yards. And the whole time, Tommy, big as he is, in Mossy Oak, he's moving as the turkey's moving. And I'm like, Tommy, be still, because I'm being as still as I can so the turkey didn't see me. I shoot the turkey, I run out, it's flopping, I grab him by the feet, I turn around to walk back to Tommy. This is exactly how it happened. I start walking the wrong direction. I was walking.
Couldn't see him.
I could not see Tommy sitting there, and I just got up from that spot to pick that turkey up. And from that point forward, I set that turkey down. He pulled his head net down. He goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I am going to wear that till I die," right there. Mossy Oak camouflage. And so he passed that on to Toxie Hayes, and the rest is history.
That's cool.
Toxie gave me a call, and I've been with Mossy Oak ever since.
Very cool.
Well, speaking of turkeys, we should probably get to our question of the day.
All right. Yeah.
Which is about turkeys.
All right.
And I know you've got some turkey calls
I do.
here
I
and all
have
sorts
a
of
lot
good
turkey
stuff.
calls
So
I didn't know what we'd talk about. So.
yeah. So we want to hear that. So let's
Yeah,
do that.
the question of the day is brought to you by Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter.
Hi, my name is Brian from Westby, Wisconsin, and I am curious to hear some ideas on how to bow hunt turkeys. I know the common method is with a ground blind, but I'm particularly interested in how a guy might go about going without a ground blind or kind of the run and gun method. So looking forward to hearing some feedback. Thanks.
All right, Steve, what do you think about that one?
Well, first off, I don't recommend bow hunting turkeys unless you have a blind. However, if you just want to do it the hard way and make it kind of harder on yourself, if you insist on doing that, one thing that you have to remember is turkeys will go to a certain point and then they won't go any further when they think they should see a hen. So I definitely would be trying to use decoys and hunt more open type spots. And the reason why I would try and use a decoy setup is because if you're going to hunt without a blind, you're going to need background cover. You're going to need to be in a spot where they can't skyline you for your bow draw, because you don't want them with their attention on you on your bow draw, or you'll never get your bow completely drawn. They'll see you and spook, then you'll never get a shot off because their eyesight is so great. So if you're going to attempt to hunt without a blind, use decoys and place those decoys not very far from you, maybe no more than 15 yards. Place them to your left or your right to where their attention is going to be on that decoy, and they'll actually walk past you to get a shot. And if their attention's on the decoy, you've got a better chance of coming to full draw. And I'll give you a little tip. If they're going to display, if they're going to be kind enough to go ahead and display and strut, then let them blow up and display and wait till their tail comes almost completely, basically their butt end to you, where their tail is hiding their head, and then come to full draw. And if they're still facing straight away from you, you can actually put your sight pin right in the butt area of the turkey and drive that area forward and kill them. But you got to find a way to draw that bow that they won't see you. And using a decoy set and hunting a little more open spots. And that might even mean if you strike a turkey and you're in a brushy spot where it's not going to be good for a decoy set, you may have to actually back up 50 or 100 yards into a spot that's more open, set your decoy. In other words, be more wise about where you're setting up than even shotgun hunting. So back up, find an open spot, set your decoys out where when they come in, their attention won't be on you, it'll be on the decoys, and then you'll have a better shot at it.
Makes a lot of sense. I never thought about that, trying to make sure they're looking past you, not coming straight towards you, and the decoys in between you and the turkey. You're never, like you said, you're never going to get away with that draw if that's the case.
And which is why it's so important. And I personally recommend using a pop-up ground blind. If you're going to bow hunt turkeys, pop-up ground blind is the key.
So tell us more about your setup then with the ground blind. Anything different you're doing then with your decoys or
not at all?
Anything else?
15 yards from the blind, you want a close shot. If you've watched the early Drury Outdoors film, you know that I'm not always the best shot in the world. I've
I heard about that.
I have missed some big whitetails and some turkey. But no question, the closer that decoy set is to the blind. And remember this, turkeys will walk right up to a blind whether you pop it up 2 days ahead of time or pop it up instantaneously. So turkeys don't have a reaction to blinds like a whitetail does.
It's amazing.
It
Why
is.
is that? They
I've
got
always wondered
such
that.
good eyesight. why would a blind not mess them up?
I mean, they'll walk right up to it,
I know.
right up to a ground blind.
It's changed the game. I mean, some people are like, it's not as fair. I don't feel like I'm hunting when I'm hunting out of a ground blind. But literally, like, it's changed the game for filming turkey hunting. I can tell you that, because there's so much that you need to get away with. And I always think of Jay Gregory, 'cause especially when you bow hunting turkeys. He's unbelievable at it. And
Jay Gregory's one of the best single hunters I've ever met in my life.
Headshots. Like,
Really?
oh my gosh, yeah. Jay Gregory, you should search out his, I don't know, I think he's got a YouTube channel or whatever. Their headshot videos are unbelievable. And he's been doing it for a long time. And I think that a lot of his success, I think he was always a double bull guy, double bull blind back in the day.
Double bull.
Yeah, I
double
think
bull.
he was. Well, anyways, that changed it for him. He said it when he started using that ground blinds, and he never liked them, and when he started using them to be able to bow hunt, it's almost a must, you know. But some guys, I guess, like a different challenge than others. But
Yeah, and one thing about ground blinds that you have to remember, and please remember this, always darken the back side of the blind up, because not only with whitetails but with turkey, if they can see through the blind, if you have your back windows open in other words, if you can see 360 degrees around the blind, that's not a good thing, because what the animal will do is they'll skyline through that blind and they'll catch some movement. So you want to, whatever side that you're working on, whatever side the field is on, the side that the turkey is working in on, you want to completely darken up the about 50% of your blind, the back side of your blind. So when you go to draw your bow or move in the blind, even if you're gun hunting, they won't see that movement.
Now, you touched on it a little bit ago when you mentioned if they're strutted up and pointing away from you, you can target that. The vent, I guess you'd call it. What are some of the other places for new bow hunters of turkeys that they can possibly get the vitals?
Well, first off, when these archery targets that they come out with absolutely usually have the vitals in the wrong spot, in my opinion. The vitals lay back on a turkey, and if you look at the drumstick of a turkey, so the leg structure of the turkey, you're looking at the back third of the turkey. That's where the vitals lay. If you shoot forward and low like you would a whitetail, you're going to hit nothing but meat. You're going to hit nothing but breast.
Right.
So you either got to hit high, almost to the point where you almost miss them, high at the butt of the wing, which is a spine shot, or you got to hit in line with the legs. So what I always tell people, if you want to kill more turkeys with a bow, just use those drumsticks like the shoulder of a deer, and try and center those drumsticks.
So follow the legs up to the drumstick.
Follow the legs up to the body and put your pin there. So
Okay.
you're actually aiming a lot further back and lower than turkey targets show.
So is it different though when they're in full strut compared to when they're not? I mean, does it change where the vitals kind of, because it makes it look like it's a big target when they're in full strut. Obviously.
Absolutely, and that's the problem. Is they're when they're in full strut, their feathers are in a stimulation effect where they're out and they're fluffed up. So you may not be hitting exactly where you think you're hitting. Yeah. So that's why I wouldn't recommend shooting a head-on strutting gobbler. With a bow, you most certainly can get away with that. But again, you got to kind of use the head or below the head, or what I call the wattles, as kind of an aiming point to drive that arrow through the neck. And then if it misses the neck or just hits feathers, it's going to hit the back part of that body and spine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've heard like just where the beard meets the chest.
Above that.
Yeah,
above
just above
that. You want to hit above that.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting.
Because again, even a frontal shot, if you aim too low, you're going to hit nothing but meat and bone.
Yeah. Is there anything from a gear standpoint? Is there a different type of broadhead that you should be using for turkeys, or anything different
There's
there?
all kinds of broadheads out now that have 2.5, 3 inch open, especially I think Rage makes them. Dead Ringer, I'm with Dead Ringer.
Yeah.
Dead Ringer makes a turkey head that actually expands out to 3 inches. It's a phenomenal head especially for turkey hunting, and it's an expandable head, so it shoots like field tip. So essentially, you can sight in for your field tips, don't have to change a thing, and put those turkey heads on.
Yeah, Rage. It's called Extreme Turkey Broadhead.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah.
see the. It's
So basically the big difference between any of these is just a wider.
Yeah, this one's a 2.125 inch cutting diameter,
Yeah.
100 grain.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not a big fan of shooting through a turkey either. I don't mind the arrow staying in a turkey. And people say, well, oh my gosh, 2.5, 3 inch, how are you going to get any penetration? Well, with turkeys, you don't.
Right.
You want
You
to
don't
break.
want that,
You don't
right?
want that. You want the
Yeah.
damage to be done and the
Yeah.
arrow to actually stay in them. It doesn't hurt for the arrow to stay in a turkey.
But let's be honest, no offense to the question. Is it any better than shooting them with a shotgun right
No,
in the
no.
face?
Your Uncle Mark said it the best, and I don't. I know PSC is a big sponsor for Drury Outdoors, and I love Blake Shelby to death, and Pete Shepley, and that I have so much respect for them. But I'm going to tell you, shotgun hunting, shooting them in the head
All day.
is the most efficient way to kill a turkey. I just tell you that right now.
Yeah, when I first started turkey hunting, for some reason, I was teaching myself, so I had no like dad or uncle or anyone who knew what they were doing to teach me. So I was trying to learn myself, and for some reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to try with a bow first. And so the first 2 turkeys I ever got a shot at, I missed wildly. So after that, I said, you know what? It's time to try a shotgun.
You know those traditional,
some birds instead.
yeah, the traditional guys are like, oh, you use a scope on your shotgun. It's like, yeah, why not? I want to make sure I can hit him no matter where he's at.
Well, and it just brings me to your Uncle Mark used to just look at me like I was nuts when I say, yeah, I want to try bow killing one. I got 2 tags.
Yeah.
Wherever, Missouri. If we're hunting Iowa, I'm an Iowa resident now. And I say I'm in the state of Iowa and I'm allowed 2 turkeys. Maybe I'll shoot the first one a shotgun and then try and bow kill the second one,
Yeah.
But he used to look at me like I was nuts. But, he changed his thinking when he actually started, when you guys actually started shooting PSE.
Yeah.
He changed his thinking on that. He started hunting them out of a blind and bow killing them. And,
Yeah.
and I know he realizes now how much fun that is.
Yeah.
The accomplishment of bow killing a turkey is far above shotgun killing one.
I thought I wanted to try it a couple years ago, and I thought, well, I got 2 days to hunt here, so let's just use
Yeah,
the
when you're-
shotgun.
I've had the opposite. The last 5 years now, I've killed one like the first day, and now I'm trying to find ways. I want to extend my turkey season.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's why this year I'm going to try with my
Absolutely.
bow, just because I want to be out there more.
Well,
because
archery definitely is a way to extend it, but I will definitely tell you it is a different animal than shotgun hunting.
Yeah.
Completely different. So it was a great question that
Yeah.
your viewer sent in.
So in Michigan, how many tags do you get for turkey season?
we just get one.
okay.
One bird.
How's the season? How long is it?
So there's kind of a convoluted couple different things, but I usually hunt what's the first season. It's a 2-week season. You can use any weapon, 2 weeks, private land, the one that I hunt. So yeah, I've been using a shotgun. I'd kill usually the first day, and then I'd go out and take buddies, or I'd bring my dad down and do some stuff like that, kind of guide, just so I could be out there still hunting. Sort
Yeah.
of. So I think last year I was on like 5 successful turkey hunts.
Awesome.
Which was fun. But this year, gonna try the old stick and string and see what happens.
You find
It's relevant.
How's the population in
I
Michigan?
was just going to ask
yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
It's good. It's good. Now I haven't turkey hunted in Missouri or Iowa, so I don't have anything to compare it to. But it's a very healthy population from everything I understand. We definitely don't, though. At least where the different places I've turkey hunted, I've never been anywhere where you see flocks of hundreds or ridge lines of 30 gobblers.
I know you have. Only place I've ever been where I've seen something like that was Nebraska. It was unbelievable.
Nebraska right now is one of the most phenomenal states for turkey population numbers. I've never seen anything like it. Especially western Nebraska is so loaded and filthy with turkeys. It's not even. It's crazy. I'm wondering if a guy wouldn't still have a tough time getting one simply because when there's
So
that many
eyeballs.
that many eyeballs, and when they're flocky, and when they tend to have that flock instinct, you can ask your Uncle Mark and your dad, and you probably know by now, Matt, that they become a lot tougher, different animal than when they're more scattered and
you can't pull
broke
them
up.
away.
You can't pull them away. So
the thing that when I hunted in Nebraska, and this has been a while back, probably 7 years ago. It's the first time I'd ever seen the fanning technique ever used. I had never seen that before because at the time we were this was really before we started using ground blinds heavy too. So it was sit at the tree and you'd run and gun, you'd locate, and then you go in and try to find one, and then you're sitting at your tree. But with these guys out there, it was amazing. Like the fanning technique, it was like a spot and stalk. I had never quite been a part of something like that, and it was crazy how successful it was. And I know Mark now uses a lot of, he fans a lot.
No,
But
it's fun.
at the time, we hadn't done much of it.
That looks like a blast.
Yeah. They have a lot of success with it. It's crazy.
You know, one of the things that I didn't mention in the setup for a ground blind or for hunting without a ground blind for bow hunting is the fact that or your ability to use a mouth call is going to help. And there's friction calls, there's different kinds of friction calls, there's tube calls, there's all kinds of calls. And most calls you have to use your hands to operate. And if, little side note, if you're going to get into bow hunting turkeys or turkey hunting period,
learn how to mouth call.
you gotta learn that mouth call. You
great point.
get a mouth
That
call. You know, and
I'm feeling bad about my chances now.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I'm not as good
And
with the mouth
another
call.
reason to hunt with a shotgun.
and so did you want to go
Yeah,
over some
let's hear it.
So one of the things that I think is overlooked is you have a lot of people really fixed on the loud calls, the cutting, the yelping, the and the reality of it is that's great to learn, but I think it's more important, especially when you're bow hunting and bow hunting without a blind, as your caller just asked. Learn the soft call. Learn the clucks and purrs. Learn the soft yelping. The soft calling is going to kill you more turkeys than that loud, aggressive calling. Loud, aggressive calling is great for locating, but to seal the deal, especially when you're bow hunting, you got a call in your mouth and you got a turkey close, but you're trying to get a shot at him, but you're not trying to move. Learn the mouth call and learn the soft call. Clucks and purrs, for instance. I do it with the end of my tongue. And I just put a mouth call in my mouth and so you're at full draw. That's all you got to do. And now you're not moving and you're waiting to get that shot to move him. So that's so important. And then of course you're more you know, obviously you want to learn to yelp, and any yelp with a mouth call is a high note and then drops into a back end. And then add realism into it. Don't just yelp. Put some clucks in there. Put some excitement in there sometimes. And sometimes if you're going to soft call, that's what you got to do. So there's a difference between just turkey calling and then turkey calling effectively. And turkey calling effectively is putting realism in there. And realism would be if you put the call in and like that.
Yeah.
Now, if you went into the woods with what I would do is try to find a Steve Stoltz and bring him with
Bring
you.
him along. That might be the best tip of the day. Now, Steve, can you walk us through situations? So my question is, I guess, when do I do that type of yelping versus when do I do? Let me take this all back.
No.
Are there different situations where you have different types of calls? You always know if there's
So-
a turkey far off and he's strutting and hung up, I'm going to do X. If he's close and do this, I'm going to do
Would
Y.
you be more aggressive when he's out and he's stuck and he's
Absolutely.
not coming? Yeah.
Louder, more aggressive. I might even switch to I like to switch calls up. I might switch to a box call. To carry even louder than that, I might go to, I always like, this is our new Kenyon cutter by Night and Hail, and it is an aluminum call, and ever since the early Mad years when we come out with the Super Illuminator,
Yep.
I never hunt without aluminum call.
Yeah.
It has that higher pitch, it has that high frequency out there, and you can get them to gobble with it. But definitely when they come in closer, I'm going to tone it down. There comes a point where you have to let them hunt you. So then you have to tone your calling down and even sometimes stop calling and let them hunt you.
So more or less, you've got their attention. You got them walking your way. They see the decoy probably. I mean, there's not many times you probably don't have your decoy out with you, right? So at that point, they're just trying to. It's kind of like they're coming in for their final moments. They're.
Now, I will tell you this: when I'm hunting, I don't always use a decoy. In fact, I only use a decoy in certain situations. Obviously, bow hunting in an open spot. I'll use a decoy if I've got a turkey roosted on the edge of a field, and I'm set up. I get set up in a pitch dark close to their roost site where I think they're going to pitch into the field. I'll set a decoy set out. So there are some situations where a decoy set is absolutely a killer.
Timber hunting? No.
Timber hunting, I leave the decoys at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they can't see them from a long ways, I've always heard Mark and Dad talk about it. If they just pop up and see it, it spooks them.
It can spook them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if they're hearing your calling, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, to go through the scenario, to get a turkey roosted isn't always roasted, we always say, but it is so important to get one roosted. It just gives you a game plan for the next morning. You never know if weather's going to change, wind's going to come in, rain starts coming, a front moves in. You never know what's going to happen between the evening before and the next morning. Mm-hmm. So to be better prepared, to get one roosted just puts you in a better position to get one killed. Number one, you know exactly where he's at.
How many times have you roosted where that next morning you get out there, you kind of get your call and you got decoy set up, and they just fly somewhere else?
Yeah, right.
It's like, dang, we were right here.
But at least you had a hunt.
Yeah.
And if you don't get one roosted, you don't have a hunt.
It's always amazing because that feeling you have in the early morning hours, and you're hearing them gobble, and you can see them on the limb. You got your binoculars up, and you're watching them. Like, it's the best. You're like, this sucker's dead.
Yeah.
He is dead. And then he flies down and goes the other way, and then, the woods wake up, and everything kind of starts heating up, and you're just like, crap. Now what? We got to start running and gunning. Let's get the blind down and pack up, and let's find another flock.
Thus the roosted ain't roasted theory. But definitely you're going against Mother Nature trying to call a turkey in early. So what I do is I try and get one roosted. If I have one roosted, then I'll try and get tight on him and try and cut down the distance that he has to travel to me without spooking him out of the limb, obviously. By knowing what tree he's in, you got a lot better chance of not spooking him. Yeah. And then what I'll do is I'll start off. If it starts getting light, I'll try and let him gobble first. Listen for the spit and drum. I don't think, if I ever do a turkey hunting book, I'm going to do a whole chapter on the spit and drum. And not so much the hunter producing the spit and drum, but the hunter identifying the spit and drum, and how important it is to hear and be able to hear that sound, because especially in high pressured areas, public hunting areas, areas in the deep south where turkeys are a lot tougher to kill, the ability to be able to hear and course that spit and drum is going to kill you more turkeys than anything else, because a turkey is still going to put out that spit and drum sound even though he's not gobbling. So the next morning, after you get one roosted, he don't gobble at all, but if you hear him spitting and drumming, you know he's there, you're in a ball game, you don't have to move to go to find another
He's
turkey.
close.
He's close. He's very close. And so what I do is I'll listen for a spit and drum in the morning. If I hear it, whether he gobbles or not, I'll give little soft tree calls. I'll wait till it starts getting light. Now, I like to, in particular, let them gobble on their own. Love that. Once they gobble on their own, that's when I'll give a little soft tree call. And the reason why I do a little soft tree call is I want them, a turkey will try and put their sound out to attract a hen. So that's why I said we're going against Mother Nature. Turkey's trying to gobble in a hen to him, okay? So he'll go on one side of the limb, then he'll gobble on the other side of the limb. That's why a lot of times people think, he flew out, and he hasn't.
Just turned.
He's just turned. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to direct that sound, and what you want him to do is pitch out your direction. If he pitches out the opposite direction, believe it or not, and this is how crazy turkeys can be, who knows what their thinking is, because they don't even know what they're going to do three minutes at a time. Right. So if you can get them to pitch out your direction, you got a lot easier chance of calling them in from that roost site than when they pitch away, even though you're talking a distance of 20 yards. For whatever reason, if they pitch the other way, they have a lot harder time turning and coming your direction.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll start off with small little, what I call tree talk. And it's just soft, low calling. And notice I do the little tiny. If I get an answer, they gobble at me. I stop. And then I'll let them keep gobbling, and very seldom will I yelp any more than that.
Make them want it.
Make them want it. So you're building up, you're already building up, and you're already got their attention, your direction to pitch out. If I feel like they're turning and now lost interest in honing in on my spot, I'll give them another little tree call and turn them back around. Because I want them, when it gets time for them to pitch out, I want them to pitch out my direction.
A lot of people probably screw that up, don't they? Because when they're still in the roost, they hear them respond, and they want to come right back at them. And then they gobble, and they want to keep him. At least that's what I've done in the past.
Yeah.
Because it's exciting. They call back, and I'm like, well,
They're
do more.
gobbling so good, and usually there's 3 or 4 up there gobbling, and you're just
And you
getting
think
excited.
you're getting them more fired up and going to get them to come down.
You
But
just made a huge point. You actually want to do the opposite.
And a huge mistake.
yeah.
You actually want to do the opposite. You actually want to say, you want to let them know you're there, but look, honey, if you want to have fun this morning, you are going to have to seek me out.
Yeah.
And you can't send
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, that's right. You can't send that message. You can't send that message by overcalling. You can't send that message by calling every time they gobble.
Got to play hard to get.
Got to play a little harder.
Now, but it's crazy because that's your strategy on the tree, right? But if, say, they flew down and they're just not coming in, they're held up or whatever, they're a couple hundred yards out, and all of a sudden you're wondering why all of a sudden you see a hen come out of nowhere. So at that point, I mean, you got to be the loudest girl at the dance, right?
Exactly. Then you change your calling pattern to passive to aggressive. And so, from soft to loud. So what I'll do typically is give fly down cackle to make them think that that hen that he heard earlier has now just flown down. And now I'm going to give him a reason to think, well, maybe she'll be a little bit more fun than the other hen he's hearing.
Do you always wait for that for when they fly down?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So fly down cackle is just cutting in a pattern that they're flying out of limb. And then I'll get some. And hopefully they'll gobble back at me, and we'll get kind of an excitement thing going. If they gobble back at me, and if a hen calls back at me, and say a hen starts yelping, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna sound more excited than her. I'm gonna try and outcall her.
When you do your fly down, do you ever do like the wing beats or, like...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. A lot of times with my hat.
Yeah, Dad, I always see Dad do that a lot. I never, yeah.
Whoa.
We just got another light in here.
I used to have hair.
Yeah, that one of the things you just mentioned there, trying to outcall the hen, is one of those things that I picked up that seems to work really well. If you can get her fired up that there's another hen there, and I, since I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just trying to figure it out still, I will mimic her. So what I hear her do, I'll try to do, but then be more aggressive with it. And that seemed to have pulled in hens with Tom's behind him.
Yep.
The issue always is when the hen just gets fed up with you and goes straight to the long period. That's the problem,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And then that's when if I see that they're now not going to make the commitment to me, you have to make a decision. Do you want to go to another turkey? You want to stay with him? If I'm going to stay with that turkey, then I'm going to back off my calling and start to do the soft calling, the soft yelping. I'm going to get a limb, and I'm going to spend some time at that tree and do some feed talk and just let him know that I'm still going to be here later on. When you're done with those hens, I'm going to be here. You may need to come back and check me out. One thing Big Ed Moyers. I know you've heard this name many times, and Mark and Terry know Big Ed. But Eddie Moyers always, I always say, my dad taught me to hunt turkeys, and Big Ed taught me how to kill turkeys. And Big Ed always said that a gobbler never forgets where he heard a hen from. He may not know what he's going to do 3 minutes from now as far as in the future, but he remembers where he heard a hen from. And he'll also remember exactly what tree and how many leaves was in that tree that hen was standing by. That's how well they know that forest and that area and that terrain. And so many times, they'll sneak back in quietly later on when they're done servicing the hens and check out those spots that they heard hens earlier. So if you have a lot of patience and you have nothing else going on, there's no other turkeys gobbling anywhere, you don't have a place, you're limited in your land, you don't have a place to go run and gun and try and get a hot one going, you may want to spend some time right there, because remember, he was there earlier. He was right there earlier all morning and all night the night before, and spent probably 2-3 hours before he went to roost right there. So what makes you think that he wouldn't be comfortable coming back to that spot later on in the morning when he needs a hen?
That's a good point. A lot of times when we're hunting, and once the morning hunt goes awry and you don't kill one off the roost, usually it's, plan B, C, D, E. There's breakfast usually in there somewhere. And so a lot of times, we'll end up going. Hunting with Dad and hunting with Mark are two vastly different styles. So hunting with Dad, he's, it'll be, all right, let's go just set up over here, and we'll start calling, see if we, can get one to respond. But typically I see him come over in this area. It's whatever. But with Mark, he's very much an aggressive and every style, deer, turkey, whatever. Sure. He's going to go, cut and run, and try to find one, get one to respond, shot gobble, whatever, and then they go in. So I don't know if Mark's style may have changed a little more recently with ground blinds and stuff like that, but I know that's how it used to be anyways.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said for both styles. One of the things, and I've hunted with Ray Eye quite a bit throughout my career, a legendary turkey hunter, and he really is one of the best I've ever hunted with. And Ray is the one that taught me that to kill turkeys when chips are down, when they're not gobbling, when they're henned up, when those tough times, the better you know the terrain, the better you know the turkey's kind of little patterns and what they like to do, like your Uncle Terry hunt, or your dad likes to hunt. The better you're going to do in those type of situations. So Ray will spend days and days just scouting, listening, watching, glassing, more time and patience than I ever usually have.
Ray probably has more time and patience.
He probably packs a sandwich with him, but which I would too if I was going to stay out there that long. But bottom line is he glasses, listens, patterns, watches. He watches where they like to fly down and hang in the morning. He watches where they go mid-morning. He watches where they like to strut in the early afternoon. And he'll spend literally all that time for days before he has his outdoor riders and his media hunts. And that's why he does so well. Yeah. Because he just knows his herd. He knows his turkeys, his flock. Yeah. You said herd. That's okay.
Then I changed it to flock.
I know you did.
Speaking of mistakes, what are some of the other biggest mistakes that turkey hunters make? I already mentioned calling too much on the roost and stuff, but are there any other things that you commonly see come up with beginner turkey hunters, or even those that have been hunting a lot but still are screwing up?
Probably not wearing mossy oak.
Well, guilty as charged then.
No, I mean that's serious. Good camouflage is huge. Everybody, and I know Ray even
doesn't wear any.
I'm
really,
gonna pick on Ray a little bit because he and he's right. If you find the right place to set up and you're got good background cover, sometimes what you're wearing really don't make any difference. And Ray proves that. He actually will shoot him in a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, bib overalls.
Bib overalls.
Yeah.
And awesome. It's to me, it's a testament to how great a turkey hunter he is. Yeah. But
most people can't get away with the kind of movement. I mean, you got to be really, really still in the turkey woods.
Absolutely.
When you're trying to get them in that kind of range, and especially if you're bow hunting.
And I can tell you what mossy oak you can get away with a little more than most of the other ones in the industry. So that's huge. But the biggest mistake I think people make with turkey hunting is not setting up properly. A lot of people don't realize, and I mentioned earlier in bow hunting, sometimes you have to back up. And I find, and when you get into filming, you kind of learn setup way better because, in our early years with Drury Outdoors, we had a lot of crappy kills, to be honest with you.
Oh, the timber hunts, they
We'd
suck.
set down and cut the camera on,
Yeah.
and then you'd see a eyeball or you'd identify it was a turkey, obviously, but not good footage.
But yeah, not good footage because the cameraman usually didn't have the same setup as the hunter.
Well, turkey hunting, period, is harder to film than whitetails,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, I think that's why Mark loves and Dad. I mean, they love the ground blind, field edges. It's the
Yes.
same with deer. It looks
visually
better.
nice,
It's
yeah.
visually appealing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
set the decoys out and catch what happens there.
So, what were we talking about? I've now lost my train of thought.
Turkey mistakes.
Turkey mistakes.
Mistakes.
You were talking
Yeah.
about setup.
Yeah, and setup, and so now you're in a situation where maybe start thinking about maybe backing up. If you locate a turkey, and he gobbles and he cuts you off and he's close and and typically if a turkey cuts you off, say with an owl hoot or a crow call, and I'll demonstrate like. And he cuts it off. Well, then switch to a little light turkey call. A little light yelp. If he answers that, if he cuts you off, he's ready to work. I mean, he's ready. If he answered the locator call, now cuts off the turkey call, you've now caught him in that mood. There's a window of about 30 minutes, if I had to put a time on it, that they fire up. And now they want that hen. They want to come. You have to take advantage of that 30-minute window that they're fired up, or you could actually not call them in and not get them killed. And so that window of time, you have to pick a good spot, get set up, and start working them, or he'll lose interest very quick. In that 30-minute fire-up window, you may actually have to back up to a more open spot that is better for if you're filming, or just to kill him. Because if you're setting in a spot he don't want to come to, it's too thick, he's scared of a coyote or a bobcat getting him, and it's one of those thick spots he just won't come to. And even if he does come to 20 yards, you won't get a shot at him. It's crazy to sit down in a spot like that.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest mistakes a turkey hunter can make is choosing a bad spot to set up. Conversely, you don't want to set up in a spot where he can see too far through the timber, especially if the timber's open. If he gets to a point he should see the hen and don't, he's going to hang up. He's going to hang up 75 yards out and sit there and gobble and say, okay, I've made my commitment. You make your commitment, because now I know where you should be. I can see to where you should be, and I see nothing.
Yeah.
And same way with big whitetail bucks.
Yeah.
That creates puts them in a different mood.
Yep.
And you don't want to change the mood of that turkey. He's fired up. He's ready to come. Any little bad setup, a poor setup, is going to change his mood.
Well, we've heard a ton of good advice today. I mean, I'm ready for turkey
just pumped
season
to go
to
turkey
start.
hunting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we got a couple weeks yet.
Yeah, I've got a ways. What about you're pretty soon though, right? Steve?
You're going on a
This
hunt.
week?
I'm
Next
leaving
week?
Thursday morning for Tommy Bourne's, where I used to, for many, many years, and your Uncle Mark and your dad Terry knew Tommy Bourne very well. He lost his life 20 years ago this year in 1997. He was a sheriff's deputy in Jefferson County, Mississippi, and he was transporting a prisoner. They were not far from the courthouse in Prentice and got a call to come back and transport another prisoner. And unfortunately, while they were out of the vehicle, just one of those, maybe only happens in southern Mississippi, I don't know, but one of the sheriffs, not Tommy, the other sheriff's deputy, left his gun laying in the front seat.
Wow.
Not thinking.
Yeah.
They had a prisoner in the back.
Sure.
And literally left with the two prisoners. They added a prisoner. And the first prisoner that they were hauling, he was a very dangerous individual. He got a hold of that gun. They didn't notice the gun was missing and start traveling up the highway, and that prisoner opened fire, point blank range from the back seat, and he killed Tommy and killed his partner. Both sheriff's deputies lost their life that day, and it was one of the worst days of my life because Tommy was like, I hunted with him like your brother or your dad and your brother. I mean, it was a ritual to hunt with
Yeah.
Tommy Bourne. Him and I hunted for years together. So it was very, very tough pill to swallow. But for many years, I couldn't go back down there and hunt. For 10 years, actually. And then I got to know all his buddies down there. Mm-hmm. And so 10 years, from 1997 to 2007, I never went back. And then in 2007 U.S. Open in Pearl, Mississippi, I was down there to compete. I was with my buddy Chris Parrish, with Night and Hale, and all the group of callers, Walter, all the guys were there. And they showed up at that contest. And I go, what are you guys doing here? And Prentice is only about 80 miles south of Jackson. And they said, well, we're here to hear you compete in the U.S. Open. I looked at one of them. I go, you guys didn't come here to hear me call. And he goes, no, we didn't. They wanted to ask me to come back and do to start turkey hunting down there
Wow.
again and kind of do a Tommy Bourne memorial turkey hunt.
That's cool.
Yeah, cool deal. So now, ever since then, I've been going down with those guys. They've got a cabin that I stay at. I mean, you're treated like royalty. They feed me well, and anytime Fat Boy has food, I'm going to go. And so, and the turkey hunting's still phenomenal
Yeah,
down there.
good.
Yeah, cool deal. And I'm going to be traveling down there Thursday, and that's where I start my turkey season usually every year, down there with those guys, and relive the times we had with Tommy. We always have a cookout, just typical. We'll have a cookout on Saturday night. Friday night we'll probably be at a fish house because I'm Catholic and it's during Lent.
Yep.
So just kind of just a fun kind of. Not so much emphasis on the turkey
No
hunt.
pressure. It's
as
just a good
no,
time.
no pressure. Just get together
Good.
and with old friends and have fun.
Very good. Well, we certainly appreciate you joining us, and it was very informative. Every time I hear you talk about turkeys, you always pick something up new. So thank you for
Cool.
for
I'm glad I could help.
sharing
and
your wealth of knowledge with us.
Thanks for having me in the studio at Drury. Good to be
Yeah,
back.
absolutely.
Like I said to your Uncle Mark, you're just not going to get rid of me.
You're a brother.
I'm not going to go away.
Extended family, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Well, with that, should we wrap this one up, Matt?
Absolutely.
All right, well, the quick reminder for me, as always, would just be to subscribe to the audio version of the podcast if you haven't yet already, which you can do on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play, all sorts of places like that. And then, send us in your questions. We'd love to answer more questions like this. We've got a bunch coming up here in the next couple of weeks we're going to be working on, but you can send in new questions at wiredtohunt.com/100%wild. And Matt?
For me, check us out on YouTube at the Drury Outdoors YouTube channel, and we're doing a ton of original hunts. We have Killing It in the Kitchen with Taylor, a lot of new stuff that we're doing in 2017. So you can always check us out there. Go to facebook.com/official Drury Outdoors, or Twitter, Instagram at Drury Outdoors. Thanks for joining us as always, and until next time, peace.
See ya. Thank you.